but I was in the 3rd grade. Segregation schools was integrating. And when you have been called Negro, spook, or ape, you build up a guard. You build up a brick wall, really. And you don't let nobody know your thoughts or your dreams. Those are your thoughts. And I had a secret I couldn't even tell my husband.
I was an athlete in school, and you know, doing an athlete, they just pass you on, you know, because you know they want you to play sports, and the teachers, you know, the class is crowded, and since you're a good athlete back in the 70s and stuff, they'll slide you on, you know, and slide you on, and I think I should have. Well, back then I wanted to go, but I feel like I made a mistake. I believe I should have, you know, I should have tried harder to let them know that I really want to, but I don't know, I was afraid, really. I was afraid to read out in class. And I thought my talent would get me over, but it changes, things changes.
I went to school in Virginia. Back in the time in Virginia, they were still integrating the elementary schools and high schools. In the area where we lived at in Hampton Roads at first, they built 5 elementary schools, got transferred in 1 year to 5 different schools. And they figured out, they noticed I had a reading problem, so they put me, instead of, you know, a reading class, they put us in a slow learners class, like the handicapped or retarded, which was wrong, because they didn't know, back then they didn't understand.
I've told everybody, you know, my former bosses and stuff, that I can't read and write as well as, you know, they can. They say, well, not a problem, we'll work with that. You know, if you write something down, we'll, you know, decipher it. If we can't, we'll call you in and we'll ask you what you meant. And it was a system that worked for us at the time, and they were happy with it. And and now I want to be able to read and write and put down my thoughts, that, you know, what it was like to actually become literate instead of illiterate.
I remember when I had went to the doctor, my sinus had flared up, and I got the medicine, but I had a younger doctor, so he didn't tell me how many hours to take it. I normally put it in my nightstand, but I put it in the medicine cabinet with the other medicine, and I didn't know which one it was. And I ended up taking some medicine that was a couple of years old. And the next morning, my eyes was jet red. Wish I should have went to the hospital, but I went to work. Around about 10 o'clock, it came back on me, and they took me to the doctor, well, to the emergency. And that's when they found out that I poisoned myself. And if I had gone home, I wouldn't have made it through that night. I threw away all the medicine, and I prayed that I would never get sick again. I prayed that Derek never gets sick, because I didn't know how to read. I didn't know how to follow a simple instruction.
The number one factor of a child's success in school is whether his mother reads and writes. 46% of people can't read their prescription bottle label. 20% of high school graduates can be considered illiterate at the time of graduation. 60% of the federal or state incarcerated are illiterate. The strongest predictor of somebody's health status is their literacy skill level.
I feel very appreciative that I have the opportunity to be a tutor. I feel like I'm a cheerleader, a facilitator. The materials that the Literacy Council provided and Ray's eagerness to learn makes it a very easy task.
If it wasn't for the literacy class, I would never got my plumber's license. I would have never been able to read the street signs out here, because when I came here, my reading level was at 4th grade level. And if because of them, a lot of things that they've opened up a lot of doors for me. I've been studying for my GED, trying to get it so I can take some courses for architectural drafting and small business.
The thing about reading, like we say, reading, I can read but get the understanding. And that's what she is teaching me, to get to understand what I'm reading. Ain't nothing like education. I wish I'd have, because you can control your life. I did want to become a counselor because I'm a recovering addict, and I want to give back. I want to give back to the program that helped me.
Now I have the confidence in myself to sit down and read that 40-question test, and I'll have maybe one or two that have to be read to me. I want to get, at least an associate's degree in some kind of business, because if, I might want to finish someday opening up my own business.
It took me about a month. I was reading a whole 3rd grade book, and I understood it, and I was like, wow, reading, oh man, you would think someone gave me $1 million.
Now I'm inspiration to kids. They look up to me now to learn how to read. Thanks, Capefield Literacy.
Learning to read has made me more confident in the workplace, being able to straighten up the boss's little slight mistakes.
I have much better social skills with people now. I'm not as quiet. I don't sit back. I tend to have conversations with people about what's going on in the world now, because I'm able to read it instead of just watching it on TV.
Being a tutor is very satisfying, and I believe it gives me the best opportunity to give back for all the good things that I've received in my life.